Guys, it's Lost in Plot. The Batman is on our table, and we're doing the autopsy. Spoilers ahead, in case you're curious.
Why did it die? I mean, so many people loved the Batman. It made such a great box office, and you're here to just piss on everybody's parade.
Well, we've got to do it, guys, because as much as you may love it, as much as you may celebrate all the good, and there is so much good in this movie, it's ultimately a flawed film, and it's a real tragedy. It's a real shame. Because for me, I thought they had a winning vision. They had a great take. They just didn't tell their story in the end.
And I'm a massive Batman fan, so we're not here to just do this to shit on it.
No, and there's so much...
We're going to give you some solid reasons.
There's so much I love about this movie. I love the way it introduces the Batman and how he emerges from the shadows. I thought was amazing. The first scene with the Riddler and him murdering the mayor was an amazing scene. I hadn't seen a scene that visceral or horrifying in forever, in years. It was unbelievable, and it really set the tone.
It really was good. That was my favorite scene, was that kill. So where did it really come off the rails for you?
Well, let's talk about thematically. We're talking Batman, Riddler, Dark Mirror, which means that the Riddler is basically the same as Batman, only this is where it can go wrong. It's basically, if you're Batman, you walk the thin line between justice and being a vengeful vigilante, and the Riddler's on the opposite side, so they're basically playing off each other, and it's the differences that matter and really give us the theme.
Yeah, and I don't really remember a story where Riddler's been kind of the dark mirror for Batman, but I think there's a hint of that in all of his villains are kind of a dark mirror to him, because if he pushes in one way too far, then, I mean, most of the villains that he has, the really good ones, will reflect that back in him.
Yeah, an aspect of his psychology. Now, I'll be honest with you, when I was watching the movie, the Riddler comes across as such a compelling character. I mean, how can you not kind of like the Riddler? Sure, he's killing people, you don't want him to do that, but he's killing these corrupt sons of bitches that lie and rip you off and are just sucking the teat of Gotham dry, and he's going after him and doing what no one else will do. And there's and he's clever in how he does it. He's brilliant as a mastermind. So I think there's a lot of sympathy for the Riddler until the third act.
This is until. I'm waiting for until.
Yeah.
You got to get to it.
Yeah, until they basically make him this incel man baby at the end, and he's nothing. He's nothing compared to what you thought. He's not the brilliant mastermind who's been doing these intricate murders and exposing all this corruption, which makes you think that he has a sophisticated brain. Instead, he's just like, I'm the disaffected man baby in my basement, and I'm just mad. Like, it was such a letdown.
Like, it could be anybody, right? Like,
Yeah.
it could be anybody that was just sick and tired of it and has decided to enact this plot on the city.
Well, and because the reason you sympathize with the Riddler is that he's sick of corruption, the way most people are sick of corruption, especially when it comes to government levels, and he does something about it. Now, deep down, you're just like, God, I wish I could kill that son of a bitch. They do these types of terrible things. But that's the whole point, is that's the restraint that Batman demonstrates that Riddler doesn't. But at the same time, you had a sympathetic villain that you could really get behind, and then you just squashed him in the third act and said, no, he's not smart at all. He's just a giant man baby who's throwing temper tantrums by the end of the movie that he's not getting his way. And it was really a letdown.
And were you like me and you didn't buy it? Because everything that he's doing up until that point in the film is tied into this renewal project. It's the slush fund that all of the corrupt in Gotham have been using, and really Falcone's at the head of it, and he's been using it to distribute his money. And then in the third act, because it requires something to happen, the plot twists it, and he kind of goes out in this entirely different tangent. Did you buy that?
No, it's complete, and it's a complete mess. And that's why I really think that Matt Reeves had a vision. I thought it was a compelling end to Batman. I thought it was a great story. And he didn't finish his story for whatever reason. Maybe studio interference, maybe that was his original vision all around, but it was such a dissatisfying ending that I'm sorry, it's broken, all right? This is a bicycle without handlebars. It's a broken movie because at the end, it's such a letdown for what you had set up.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it is moving forward, and now they've just announced this week that HBO Max has given a green light to the Penguin series starring Colin Farrell. So you know that coming.
Colin Farrell's Penguin was not interesting to me at all. I know a lot of people laud his performance. Why? because he dresses
I
up
think
and
because
looks
you
fat.
couldn't
like
recognize
churros.
him, that he just completely disappeared into the role and everything. It was like, well, he's all in prosthetics. I mean, he was fine. He wasn't anything remarkable to
Yeah,
me.
he's
He
fine.
didn't stand out. He
It
was
wasn't
just like,
interesting. He didn't really have much of a point of view at all, and that's what it is.
And I'm not too excited for a sequel. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's such a you'd hope that they could capitalize on all the good that they did in terms of imagining the Gotham City as a setting, which is great. I have no idea where Batman was living in this kind of Gothic cathedral apartment in the city.
Yeah,
it was
a strange-
really bizarre, and they have to shit can
strange home.
Bruce Wayne and Alfred. That whole relationship and the angle that fell totally flat for me. So that's not intriguing. And Rob Pattinson, fine as a Batman. But I don't. As a Bruce Wayne, he's such a rag that it's
There was
like,
nothing.
what are you going to do?
There's nothing
with
there,
that?
yeah.
Where are you going to take that? So I don't know. I mean, that's what it is. So I think ultimately for me, what kills it is you sandbag your antagonist. I think that was the chief flaw with the movie, and you did it just so you could get this contrived, stupid action set piece in the third act.
Yeah, and what I'd kind of like to see, and I understand why so many studios are doing this, or filmmakers are doing this, is they're going back and they're pulling all of the influences from the same graphic novels in the Batman lore. It's Batman Year One by Frank Miller. It's The Long Halloween, which I still haven't... I'd like to see more of a straight adaptation of The Long Halloween. But they keep pulling from the same sources, where I would almost like a totally fresh new approach, and maybe if you're going to pull from something, some of the more recent stuff from Scott Snyder, from my guy.
Sure.
And some of those stories that he's told around 2012, 2013 is when they started to come out, and he had this magnificent run. And he actually retold the origin story, and that it's sitting right there for you. But this one kind of felt too familiar to me. I mean, some things were new and good, but honestly, I don't know where the direction is from here. I didn't like what they teased me for what they could do with the sequel.
Yeah, the teaser for the sequel was not engaging. But I mean, it's like they're going to beat this character into the ground. They're never going to stop telling Batman stories. So they're really
That's
just going to
fine.
struggle and try
I
to
don't mind
find
that.
some angle and some in, which makes it all the more frustrating that Matt Reeves, I thought, in terms of making this a hard-boiled noir, had a good in and didn't commit to it and pussed out in the third act and just, he shat the bed. He had it.
Pussy.
So there you go, guys. That's the final word on Batman, the Autopsy, the fatal flaws that place it on the table. If you have differing opinions, please leave them in the comments section down below. Like and subscribe. Check us out on Twitter. And we're going to see you all in the next one.